folks, welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my May reading wrap up for 2026. Apologies, it's been a few weeks. My energy's been elsewhere, either elsewhere or minimal. I wasn't very well last week, but yeah, so I kind of forgot. I kept thinking I need to film stuff, and I've got 2 Owl Crates waiting unboxings, but kept forgetting. So and yeah, I had intended to do my wrap up on the 1st of June last week because I had a public holiday and then again forgot. So but I did write my notes, so there's that. So what did I read in May? Well, I continue to try and catch up on my overall reading goal, and this in May I read 13, which, given that my reading goal requires at least 10 books a month, that is helpful. I'm still about 5 books behind, but I am catching up. So a lot of what I read in May was actually short fiction, because I've been doing Hugo reading and been pretty good about it too. So yeah, that's also helpful. So the first thing I finished in May was Abandoned by Shana Grandinson. This is a Pride and Prejudice variation, a new one in which when Mr. Bennet dies quite early, a very, very young Jane, Elizabeth and Mary get abandoned by their mother in London, so that she can marry the heir to Longbourn, which is, of course, I think Mr. Collins's father. Can't remember, but yeah, basically she abandons her daughters. Things go very, very wrong for her because she has no idea the brute she's marrying, and the girls get adopted by an earl and countess. And eventually, you know, they discover who they are. But so yeah, that was fun. Then I finished reading Pocket Apocalypse by Shauna Maguire, the 4th encrypted novel. This one is set in Australia, in which Alex has to join his girlfriend, who's from Australia, because they're having a lycanthropy outbreak and they don't really know how to handle it. So despite the fact that Australia is a place where he doesn't want to go because everything's too dangerous, and he's also got trauma from when he was 18, when it comes to lycanthropy, yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do. And so we go to Australia to fight a lycanthropy outbreak and meet a very hostile family from his girlfriend, who I'm not happy she's fallen in love with a price boy. So yeah, Shelby's family pops in. So that was the only physical book that I actually finished. Everything else was ebook. So I finished Uncanny issue 57, which I'd already started before the Hugo Awards came out. I don't remember any, at this point I've read so much short fiction in the last month, I don't remember anything specific from that particular issue. Sorry, but as usual, it was good quality, all Uncanny is. Then I read Murder by Memory by Olivia Waite, which is on the novella shortlist for the Hugos. This has got a queer protagonist and some queer characters. And it is essentially a generation ship in which minds are stored in the library when they wish to rest, and then when they wish to be living, they're downloaded into a new body. And our main character is a ship's detective who was accidentally downloaded by a subroutine into a body that actually already had an occupant, because there was a magnetic storm, and also there's been a murder, and so she's needed, and so she has to go and investigate while in a body that's not hers, but is actually involved in the murders and the crimes. So yes, that was fun. It was like, yeah, space opera, but sort of a Holmesian detective novel, which I really, really enjoyed. Then I read Rapport, Friendship, Solidarity, Communion and Empathy by Martha Wells. This is a short, I think it's a novelette in the Murderbot universe, but not about Murderbot. And so this was again for the Hugos. So it wasn't about Murderbot, so I didn't really find it as enjoyable as I find Murderbot. It was sort of still poking around, the idea of autonomy and emotion for AI, essentially, AIs, bots, that kind of thing. But I think it's been too long since I've read the actual Murderbot book that this ship was involved in. So yeah, it was a bit of a disconnect for me, but well written. Then I read The River Has Roots by Amal El-Matar, BIPOC author. I think she counts as a BIPOC author. She's, I think, maybe I want to say Lebanese, something like that, something Middle Eastern. I think. But yes, and so this was a fantasy based around Fae and around the idea of grammar as a magic system that gets transported from the Fae world through water and then is filtered and made usable by the Willows. But this is sort of more of a romance that also involves a sort of a murder and being able to tell the truth. How can we make sure that people know the truth when one can no longer leave the Fae realm? So as a human, because that one has been murdered in the regular realm. So yeah, that was fun. I liked that. That was a novella. In My Country by Thomas Ha, which for some reason I haven't written notes about. What was that about? It was a short story, and I can't off the top of my head remember what it was about. In My Country. Yeah, I should have written notes about that because I can't remember what it was about. I've read Thomas Ha for the Hugo Awards before. He tends to be a little more on the horrific side, the dark side than I tend to like in my fiction. I can't remember what that one was about. Oops. Laser Eyes Ain't Everything by Effie Seiberg, in which I have something. This one was, that's right, superheroes. So this was a superhero story in which a woman in a wheelchair has developed laser eyes, and she joins the superhero union, but discovers that even the superhero union is ignoring accessibility requirements. And then the villain that she's hunting down is destroying the places he's destroying because they also ignore accessibility requirements. So so that was interesting. Missing Helen by Tia Tashiro. This is one in which you have one opportunity to sell your genetic clone, your genetics to be cloned, and this woman is in the situation where she's been divorced by her husband, who is now getting married to the younger clone, and so she sort of isn't really jealous of her clone, but she sort of engineers a situation to meet said clone to just sort of suss her out and indicate, maybe this is not a good thing, but without actually saying so. But it was sort of interesting. That was by Tia Tashiro, who is a BIPOC author. Why a Mother by Isabel J. Kim, again BIPOC author. So Why a Mother, I haven't written notes on this one because it was a recent one. So which was, that's right. So this is one in which it's about a teenager whose father is married to an AI woman. And the girl doesn't recognize her as her mother. And there's a dilemma when she discovers the code to wipe the AI. And so does she make that choice or not? I think there's some sexual assault in that one as well. Sort of not huge amounts, but a boyfriend pushing for more than what is wishing to be given. So that was interesting. I think that was a short story as well. I'm not sure. And then another BIPOC author in H.H. Pack, Never Eaten Vegetables. This one was about a ship that is a womb ship sort of thing, in which it's bringing colonists as embryos, but something went very, very wrong, and the embryos started developing well before they should have. And so the ship ended up having to jettison the undeveloped ones to keep the born children alive, and it sort of flips back and forth between that and decades later when the children have grown up, and their colony is fighting to survive and meet the requirements because there's not enough of them, and the ship is also on trial. So yeah, that's sort of interesting. Yep, and then I finished Uncanny issue 63 because that was one that had another story. God, I'm losing track. So that one had another story that had been nominated, and so I just read the entire Uncanny issue, and I have not written any notes. This is the problem when my notes were written a week ago. And now I can't remember, because I have since finished another issue of Uncanny. Issue 63, what story was in issue 63? I cannot remember. I'm very, very sorry, but it was very, very enjoyable, and I have a feeling I actually gave this issue 4 stars, so it was definitely worth a read, even if I can't remember what exactly was in that one. And then I finished out the month by reading another novella, What Stalks the Deep by T. Kingfisher. What Stalks the Deep, and this is the third novella in the series where the second novella, I've read the second novella but not the first novella, because the second novella was nominated for the Hugo last year, and this is this character who I suddenly realised in this one is actually a sort of non-binary soldier who keeps getting involved in weird, sort of almost what's the word? I've forgotten the name, but sort of your weird Cthulhu-y type creatures appearing in the world. So the previous story had been about like killer mushrooms. This is a weird sea creature from before the Ice Age that buried itself in a cave, and things have gone slightly wrong as the mining has started to disturb it. Yeah, it's very weird. Not quite my vibe, but T. Kingfisher is very good at writing these stories. So those were the 13 things that I read this month. There were 4 BIPOC authors. I've listed Murder by Memory as definitely queer, but it's possible. I'm not really sure if What Stalks the Deep counts. Possibly because I think maybe the main character is non-binary, which I had honestly assumed male in the previous story. But then it talks in this one about bound chests. So maybe that also counts as a queer story, a queer main character. So yeah, I read 13 Things, did a big chunk of my Hugo reading, still catching up. I've still got, I'm still 5 behind, but I'm hoping to continue catching up and to continue doing my Hugo reading over the next month. And I probably should pick up another Seanan McGuire encrypted novel because I got sort of sidetracked by Hugo reading from my reread of the encrypted novels. So yeah, that's my May reading wrap up. I'm quite satisfied with it. All right, bye.